Ugh. 1, 2, 3, hit! A little bit lower. Perfect. Wait, no. Still, if you keep distracting me, I swear to God. Hi everyone, I'm Locklan, and today I wanted to give a slight spoiler review of the Spy X family manga. The hook of Spy X is that in a pseudo-European nation, in the midst of a potential war, a spy codenamed Twilight must infiltrate a school to gain audience with and hopefully learn more about a certain enigmatic figure known as Donovan Desmond, president of a major political party, to prevent potential war between two nations. The catch, you ask? Well, now, taking an identity as psychiatrist Loid Forger, the only way Twilight can get close to the man is by enrolling his child into a prestigious school and have them get close to Damien, the man's son. Relatively easy, if not for the fact that he has neither a wife nor a child. In this vaguely European city, it's very much a time of Cold War Russia or even Red Scare US, where even the smallest violation of social norms may lead to the secret police knocking on your door. Enter first Anya, an orphaned gremlin who just so happens to also have telepathy, meaning straight off the bat, not only does she know Loid's a spy, but she thinks that's really cool. Next off, enter Yor, a mild-mannered, quirky office worker, and also an inhumanly strong and fast super assassin called a Thorn Princess, working for a secret organization called the Garden, who, by happenstance and by prodding from Anya, enters into a mutually beneficial sham marriage with Twilight. The other catch, neither Loid nor Yor realize who the other is, and neither of them realize that Anya is painfully aware of who they are and their every thought. And I can just say that right there is one hell of an amazing hook that could be ruined incredibly quickly. So I need to give props to the author because they managed to balance suspension of disbelief pretty masterfully. Spy X Family is one part slice of life, one part action comedy, one part drama, and all part spy thriller. The balancing of the world is handled with enough intrigue that it's never dreary, but it is uncanny and interesting. And the unintentional cat and mouse between Yor and Loid trying to figure out which each other is thinking is great. And it's great because they aren't trying to guess what the other is thinking because they suspect the other is a spy. No, they aren't even close to that yet. They're trying to guess the other's thoughts because that's just their nature as spies and assassins applied to literal domestic life and a spouse. And that makes Anya's role in the story even more masterfully added. Anya acts and sounds like a child, like a real child, not an anime perfect child. No, she's a gremlin and also very sweet and sincere, so she never feels evil or like too much of a brat. She's competent when she actually tries, occasionally, and I think she's genuinely a good person. If there's any complaint I'd have about her, it's that I wish we had a little bit more of her backstory this far in, but it's a really minor complaint made up for the amazing art depicting her faces and her many foolish but apparently logical plans for a child to make. She wants to help Loid and Yor, and while she's a bit disturbed at times by her parents' thoughts, her telepathy also cuts through a lot of that misunderstandings that usually plague this type of story. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of misunderstandings between Loid and Yor and them looking at Anya, but that's sort of the nature of their job, subterfuge, and being unfamiliar with the mind of a child. But Anya always understands what others are thinking, so her arc is less about understanding others and more about understanding what to do with her powers and her place in this family. It's funny because no one knows she's a telepath and she doesn't want people to know. So she'll do little things like actively fail a game to hide her ability, but conversely, she's incredibly easy to read on a surface level. Anger, fear, etc., it's all clearly visible, but usually people misread what the cause of that anger, fear, frustration is, because realistically, how would they know? It's from Yor imagining a tiny chihuahua slitting Anya's throat and Anya seeing that in her head. And I also really like how Anya really isn't disturbed by all this. She helps her parents keep their secrets because she fears that they'll split if they find out. And she even just plain helps them on their missions while trying to hide the fact that she's helping them. She also never freezes under pressure and generally wants the best for certain people. And it's great that this level of maturity can also be in such an immature person because Anya is immature, as a kid should be. She punches Damien, the boy she should be making friends with, for insulting her. She gets excited about dogs and brags about her adventures to gain more clout and class. She's also, while pretty street smart, academically near failing, because she's gotten pretty far using her telepathy without putting in the effort necessary for it. But she also learns from those mistakes and genuinely tries to improve and learn if she realizes she's burdening someone else or if she realizes what she's doing is wrong. So props again to the author for making a child who is simultaneously a gremlin and a genuinely decent person, who can grow from their mistakes without losing that little bit of endearing gremlinness. And Anya isn't the only really well-handled and likable character. Yor, while falling a bit on the ditz side for women protagonists in the story, is a very sincere, kind person who blindly follows her organization, loves her brother dearly, who she also cared for her by herself for most of her life, and she's incredibly polite, even when she kills people. Also, I think she's probably taken that Captain America super serum because she has enough strength to eviscerate a tennis ball in one swing and can be hit by a speeding car with little to no damage. Yor is incredibly capable, the strongest character I think canonically in the manga, and begins to fall in love with both Loid and Anya. One of my favorite panels in the entire manga is when a bunch of thugs are trying to steal Anya's clothes and she intervenes in the scariest way possible, just bashing one out cold with a single kick, punching clean through a pumpkin, and then when they call her a maid, saying she'll be fired for fighting for them, she yells defiantly, "I am that girl's mother." And the best part is, Yor can't hide her emotions any better than Anya can. She's as terrible as Anya at hiding her feelings. It's just that because she's so unsuspecting and fairly honest with what she says most of the time, Loid never suspects her as anything more than just a very badass lady. So when she screams this, unlike the master conman Loid who knows about telling people what they want to hear and acting a certain way, she means it pretty wholeheartedly. And the rest of the manga reinforces that, as well as Anya's admiration of her, even in that panel, where generally Yor looks pretty scary, Anya is just happy and calling her mama. It's very wholesome. And it intrigues me with the idea that Yor will have to grapple with her work in the future, as well as grapple with her brother, who happens to also be in the secret police, which she, oddly enough, doesn't know about. Even recently, she feels despondent at the thought that if she dies unsuspectingly, Loid and Anya will likely never know what happened to her. She'll just disappear, without even a goodbye, and that seems to be what actually bothers her, not life or death situations. But I guess overall what I love most about Yor is that she's far more than just an oblivious white trope or a cold badass assassin I assumed she was from the cover art. She's a great combination of both, and honestly, a pretty good mother. Speaking of oblivious, Loid, though the coolest, calmest, and smartest of the bunch, a renowned spy with the likes of James Bond, is also so socially inept when it comes to what he perceives to be having a normal family, that he is absolutely oblivious to Yor moonlighting as an assassin and to Anya's mind-reading capabilities and even her general antics, which is really funny because he's not incompetent at all. He's a genius with a photographic memory, nerves of steel, and a strong hate for the war like the one that destroyed his family, and he's pretty darn perceptive. Loid is an awesome combination of suave and oblivious, and I'd argue even more oblivious than Yor, because it's his job to read and imitate people more so than an assassin would. So the fact that this incredibly powerful marriageless lady whose brother is a secret policeman, which is a fact Loid deduces immediately upon meeting Yor's brother, raises absolutely no flags for him as to what Yor might be. It's just really funny. And yet he doesn't treat her as anything less than his partner in all this, and I think that's really sweet. And raising a child generally baffles Loid, and having a family rattles his nerves more than anything he's ever done before, not because he's necessarily worried they'd get hurt, but because he's not entirely sure how to act. And I love that, like Yor, even though he's a badass spy, he's also just an all-around pretty good guy grappling with his need to complete his mission and what it means to be a parent and a husband. Multiple times through the story, he asks himself what happens if he fails or if the mission ends. He doesn't always think in terms of, if I fail, the war will inevitably happen, but also in terms of what will happen to Yor and Anya. Two people whom, though he's tricked himself into thinking otherwise, are people he does love, and it's very proud of at points, as evident when he nearly compromises the entire mission he's dedicated his moment for by slamming his fist into the table of a school admission committee to snap himself out of anger from one of the members insulting Yor and making Anya cry. It's those little moments of intense emotion from Yor and Loid and the constant emotional and psychological mess that is Anya in the best way possible that makes the fact that they fit so well as a family all the more wholesome and generally believable. Their dynamics, how much effort Loid and Yor put into deceiving each other and Anya, and how it completely is useless on Anya, and how each of them truly tries to go out of their way to help each other and make this family feel, make this fake family and marriage work better than a lot of real media marriages is awesome to see. Like moments of Loid planning out an elaborate date with Yor to make up for sending her out for what he perceives might be too many errands. Yor trying to learn how to cook so Loid isn't the only one making dinner at home. Anya doing what she can to help save her parents without giving up their secrets, and her parents trying to give Anya a happy and fruitful childhood that she hasn't been able to have yet as an orphan girl. And generally, I'd think I'd have more criticism for this piece, like the pacing and the plot stagnation and some general plot holes and suspension of disbelief, but because Spy X Family is as much a comedy slice of life as anything, it honestly doesn't bother me. I will say that Nightfall being in psychotic love with Loid doesn't do wonders for her as a female character, and I'm not a really big fan of love triangles, but her presence is comedic, and I can suspect that she has more of an arc a little later on. And Yor's brother, Yuri, while adding a nice dynamic of that secret police, is also clearly in love with his sister, like borderline Alabama kind. It's a little much, but like I said before, minor issues for an overall really fun ride, and I haven't seen an episode of the anime yet, but if it's anything like the manga, then it's very likely worth the praise it's been getting recently. And if not, well, there's a wonderful little story here that is like actually legitimately funny. Well, thank you for watching. I haven't just sat down and read something for a while, so that was really fun. Let me know if you like this more personal style of review. I'm sure Stella appreciates not having to edit as much. And if you enjoyed the content, please subscribe. I swear I'm not as annoying as I look, and you can always unsubscribe later if you... you can always unsubscribe later if you don't like me or if I become a crypto shill. Oh, and I still plan on reviewing Nichijou. I mentioned that in my last review. It's just been a little caught up in procrastinating. Thank you again so much for watching. It means a lot for me. And put in the comments if you think I should decorate my room a little bit more. I think I'll be using this as a bit more of an interesting setup. You can't see me move my arms because my arms are broken. I just realized that. But yeah, leave a comment if you think I should add any posters, color the wall a little bit, maybe change my outfit to something more casual. And yeah. I'm Locklan Star Eyes, and I will see you next time. Bye.